Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Elam Road podcast, where on today's show we are unfortunately going to be going over the 2-1 defeat at Craven Cottage on Monday night. Craig, how you doing?
No comment.
Dan, how you doing?
At least there's more of us here than there was in that Riverside stand, especially that top tier at Fulham. What was that all about?
Yeah, one silver lining is that Fulham outpriced their fans for the game. But yeah, anyway, slightly somber intro. This is going to be a fucking miserable podcast for anyone listening. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be fun. You can listen to it if you want. I'm not really that arsed. But just before we get going, drop a comment down below with your thoughts on the monstrosity that was Monday night. Subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels. Follow us on the socials at the Ealing Road on Twitter, at Ealing Road Pod on Instagram. Tweet of the week. Maybe some joy in what has been a pretty miserable couple of days. I found a couple of good ones. Ghost of Champ JC, who I think has changed his name recently, but said when he got back from the game, something's just switched my kettle on. Everyone's asleep. I hope whatever spirit it is evil, and it comes and scolds me with boiling hot water all over my face, and then in brackets, and testicles too. Cal_Dobby, Mads Versalev earns 20k a week playing football like that, and I work until my fingers bleed for 40k a year. Life's fucking cruel, mate. And then I thought I'd also include a little stat back from the game, and it was a Fulham fan saying that we deserve nothing from it. We had 5 shots to Fulham's 26. 2 were on target, 12 for Fulham. 1.37 expected goals for Fulham, which isn't actually that high. 0.59 for us. 46 touches in our box for Fulham. 9 Brentford's in Fulham, which is just despicable in a game like that. 66% possession for Fulham as well. Guys, this is going to be a fairly different episode. I haven't done much sort of work on the running order, but you know, there's definitely a few key talking points. Dan, I'll come to you first with your assessment of the game, and then we'll talk about some other stuff too.
Oh gosh, it wasn't great at all. I mean, the key thing I think is we could not keep the ball at all, and it worries me now for the games we got coming up, particularly Bournemouth next week, who are a good pressing team. All we need to face is a good pressing team, and we cannot progress the ball at all. And even on the occasions we got forward, we didn't really do anything with it. We were quite lucky to score. It was a great finish from Yanel, but I can't remember, apart from Carvalho's chance right at the end, another occasion where we did anything to hurt them whatsoever. In terms of slight positives, I think we limited them in terms of their efforts to mostly long-range efforts, and I think that shows in the XG. That's a very low XG for 26 shots. I think Flecker made a lot of saves that he should be making. I think we're relatively comfortable as we could be in that regard, but ultimately, if you're going to be putting yourselves under so much pressure for such a long period of the game, then at some point, even if it is a brilliant finish or a slightly fortunate finish, which the goals may have been from Fulham, then there's always a risk of that coming, and we cannot come out of that and say that we deserved anything. So although it was very painful in how it happened, and obviously we were so close to winning that game and so close to possibly winning it again, even after 1-1, but we cannot honestly sit here and say that we deserved anything from that at the end of it.
No, I don't. And you make a good point. We're kind of talking about it off camera as well. If it did stay 1-0 and we did win, are we crediting a massive defensive performance, Craig? Because like you said, 26 shots on goal, 1.3 expected goals. They didn't trouble us at all, really, until the goals came. But you kind of had that feeling, Craig, that once one went in, if we did concede and it wasn't too late, that there would be another goal, and it wouldn't be for us because we were fucking dreadful.
What's funny is I don't even know if it was before or after they scored their first goal, and I said I tweeted saying there's only one winner here, and it wasn't us. It wasn't us.
I put in the chat as well. When we scored the first, I put in the chat that we're going to lose now, and we did a couple minutes later.
We did, yeah. But we almost did to them what United did to us last season, where we almost got a smash and grab result, because besides the one bolt out of the blue and the chance in the 96th minute, we didn't do anything. I'm trying my hardest not to swear right now. We didn't do
fucking dreadful.
we did fuck all. Yeah, we didn't do nothing the whole game, and that shows in the stats that you read out, Mike. We're a team known for flooding the box with our attacking players, which is what we've done in what feels like every game this season. We went to City, we did it. We went to Spurs, we did it. We went to United, and we didn't really do it. You know, we went to Liverpool, and we tried to do it. The home games that we've had, even including Ipswich, we tried to do it. It flooded the box, but this time we didn't. I don't know what the hell it was. We must have been intimidated by the atmosphere. That's the only thing I can really put my finger on. Must have been intimidated by such a hostile atmosphere at Craven Cottage that it scared us so much we couldn't play our football. But it was wank, is what it was. from start to finish, besides one bolt out of the blue from Janelt. By the way, cracking finish. What a goal. No idea where that came from. It was awful football, and arguably the worst we've played, including losing 3-1 at home to Everton last season, 4-1 at home to Wolves last season. The worst that we've played since we've been in the Premier League. And we couldn't have picked a worst fucking game to play that way.
No, we're going to talk about Roerslev, we're going to talk about fullbacks, but in terms of Thomas Frank getting it wrong and sort of some of his comments that I think probably were taken out of context a little bit, lost in translation a little bit, but I saw that Jay tweeted something to say, it's only one game. I think I want to say it's 44 points dropped from winning position since the start of last season. So it's not only one game. And it's not even the first game that we've bottled it in the last minute. Yeah, I know. It's not even the first game that we've bottled it in injury time. I think it's been a couple of days now, but just the way that we played, particularly in that second half, in a derby game, in what is our biggest game of the season, or one we look forward to with the most dread or happiness, call it what you will, but to set up in the way that we did, Dan, and maybe it's due to injuries, but maybe it's due to basically everyone on the pitch having an off day. But the kind of intangibles that you measure a team's kind of grit on, that being grit and being desire and pressing, and you want to see that fight to kind of roll over on a 1-0 lead and hope for the best, I thought, Dan, was nothing short of a bit disgraceful. Honestly, leaving that ground, I was fucking fuming, and I still am a little bit, but I just thought, I don't want to go into meltdown because normally we're kind of the voice of optimism or the voice of reason, but I was livid, Dan. How were you livid?
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it's another game as well. We've conceded 2 goals in a matter of minutes, and this one was a bit different because we were terrible the whole time. It's not like we conceded and then didn't know how to cope. We just carried on being quite terrible. But it's so disappointing, and it's quite concerning. I don't think we set up to defend for 90 minutes. I think we set up hoping that we'd be able to play through them and that we'd be able to break through the press and we'd be able to then have some joy going forward. But we could not do that at all. And we don't adapt in games. We don't then change it and see this isn't working. What can we do here? I get it. Again, even going long, you're not going to really go long to Wissa and end up winning any of the balls, but you can still try and win the second ball. You can still get close to Wissa. You can still give them something to think about by maybe going long a bit more often. So then sometimes you can go short because Fulham won't go to press you so high initially, thinking that they might get caught in behind. But we just didn't give them anything to think about. And even Thomas Frank in his subs, he's normally always the one to say that we go for the second goal. We go to kill off the game. We don't really sit back. And then he brings on Ben Mee for Brian and Bumo with like 10 minutes left. And
that's for Janelt, wasn't it, at the end?
Yeah, I think Ben Mee
killed me. That did.
Yeah.
But that Dan, you said it in the bit before, or Mike, you might have said it, is if we'd held on for 5 more minutes, we'd be talking about what a defensive performance that we just pulled off. How the hell have we kept them out of the goal for 96 minutes or whatever it was? What's the old adage? You don't fix something that ain't broken. Defensively, we was doing well. Defensively, we was doing well. When we had the ball, awful. When we didn't have the ball, we limited them down, as you said, to shots from outside the box. Hence 1.3 XG from 26 shots, because they were limited to shots from outside the box. So you don't fix something that ain't broken. We're keeping them out of the net. Don't then fucking change it, because it ain't going to work. And it didn't work. And
he knew he'd be facing loads of crosses, didn't he? And he thought, I'll get another centre-back in there. And it sounds reasonable. I can see his thinking. But we just don't normally do that. And I think that shows as well that Thomas Frank knew that we were so under pressure that he felt the need that he had to do that. He doesn't normally do that.
And even when we changed them to a back five, they played through us so much easier than when we were playing with a back four, because everybody knew their role, everybody knew their position when we was in a back four, and it completely threw everything out of whack when he threw Ben in there. Case in point, their second goal. I know we're going to go on to the second goal, and it is infuriating. Everything about that goal is infuriating, and there is a 5-second clip floating about on Twitter, which you guys have almost definitely seen of Mads Roslev just walloping the ball. And I know we're going to talk about it, but we go to a back five, and you think, okay, there's more players in that defensive space, which means there is less space for the opposition to exploit. But how then do they find so much space down their left wing, down our right-hand side, to be able to feed the ball through two defenders, then have the time to stop and then cross and have an unmarked player inside just outside the 6-yard box? How do you fall apart? How do you fall apart like that with extra defensive players in there? It was the wrong decision. He doesn't make many wrong decisions like that, Thomas Frank, but it was a wrong decision, and it cost us at least a point in that game.
Well, let's talk about Mads Roslev, because you just mentioned him there, Craig. It'd be a good segue into it. I think Mads Roslev's been a scapegoat for a while now, and I've always felt a little bit sorry for him, because he's clearly not to the level, but he's forced into this position because he's technically one of the only recognised or natural fullbacks that we have at the club. But we've spoken about it before. People who have watched us have genuinely thought that he is the worst footballer in the Premier League, and we persist on playing him whilst we've got Jayden Montgomery on the bench. And I was trying to timeline this in my head. When did we find out about Aaron Hickey being out for another season? Was that after the transfer window? Was that before?
Just after, I think.
Just after. Right. Well, obviously that's bad timing. But again, it just, I think if you ask most Brentford fans over the summer, you would have probably said that we'd had a good window, bar that one big gaping hole in our squad, which is fullbacks. With Rico Henry looking like he'll never come back, I don't think we're ever going to see him again. And with Aaron Hickey out for another season, Mads Roslev and Sepp Vandenberg, Sepp's not even a fucking right back, and he's forced to be playing at left back. he's a centre half.
An already out of position player being forced to play further out of position to accommodate a player who doesn't even play well in his own fucking position, who can't play. If you're a fullback, now, I'm sorry, but if you're a fullback, that means you can play either side. You're a fullback, you can play out either side. Why wouldn't you put a fullback to the other side and play an already out of position centre back who is comfortable at right back? Let's obviously say Sepp is comfortable at right back. Stay at right back. Don't fuck with that part of the team. Yeah, that he can do that job. Let him do that job. But we can't, because that dipstick can't play at left back. He has to play at right back because he's pony. I'm sorry. He's not a Premier League footballer. He's not a Premier League footballer. I'm so angry.
I was watching the game back before we started recording, and I can't lie. In the first half, he actually wasn't that bad, but the second half, there was so many occasions where he pick up the ball and kick it to no one, or just like you said in the lead up to their goal, hoof it into the air. But can I just say as well though, like after the hoof, Norgard and Fabio Carvalho completely fuck up their interplay in the middle. Like one of them either needs to take control of it, because I think Fabio Carvalho throws his hands up when Norgard gives a bad touch. But that happened on a consistent basis. Whenever Mads Roslev gave the ball away, it wasn't us trying to get the second ball back or reacting to him giving the ball away. It was just, well, let's just drop back into the position and give them 20 yards and let them advance on us. So with all that in mind, the fact that, you know, and I know it's difficult, Sergio Reguilon's wages at Tottenham would have been ridiculous, but he's not played any minutes this season. And, you know, we all said over the summer it wouldn't probably be the wisest decision with Rico coming back. But Rico hasn't come back. He's not back.
Where is he, man?
He's just like, and Dan, are we now at a point again this season where we're waiting for people to come back? You know, Aya, don't know when he's going to be back. I've heard someone on Twitter say that he's going to be back in mid-December from a minor knock.
We were told he'd be back Monday night.
I know. Apparently, he was in a good place to be playing on Monday night, and apparently he's going to be back mid-December now. I don't want to confirm or deny that because it was just something I saw on Twitter. Igor Thiago, Gustavo Nunez, Rico Henry, and obviously Aaron Hickey's more long-term. But are we now at a point down where, again, we're waiting for people to come back to actually, for our season to actually gain a bit of momentum?
In a way, but we've got to expect this and we've got to learn to manage it now. It's been well over a year since we've been managing it. We know who certain players are who are injury prone. Unfortunately, it does not surprise me that Christopher Aya might be out until Christmas. It would not have surprised me if he gets injured at any given point of time, because he has shown over the last few years that unfortunately he does get injured fairly regularly. So we've got to plan for that, and we've got to have sufficient depth. And when your depth is, or when your alternatives are a left back and a right back who have had serious long-term injuries, and Rico Henry, we know in the past, has also had other serious long-term injuries, we need to be aware that that could happen again, and we need to plan for it. Now, Meg Homer obviously isn't ready for Premier League football. He must just be on the bench as a placeholder, because if you're not going to take Maz Roslev off and switch Vandenberg to right back and bring him on in that game, then when are you going to do it? I also thought we could have even put Janelt left back, Vandenberg right back, and had someone like Jensen in midfield, who I would hope would keep the ball a bit better, because that is where we're seriously weak in terms of keeping the ball. And people should have been around Roslev, and people should have been trying to guide him through, especially that hoof at the end. There was anyone near him. Just shout at him and tell him, time, Mads, bring it down. You know, he almost got an assist towards the end. If Carvalho had scored, that would have been a Roslev assist. So let's give him something. But I do feel sorry for him. We shouldn't be in that position. And we are perhaps waiting for players to come back, but I don't necessarily think we can guarantee with any confidence that will ever happen, and that will ever be in a place where absolutely everyone will be fit, and we'd be lucky to be in that position. So we've got to deal with what we've got at the moment, and it's not looking very promising.
And he's got about as much composure as a kid in a sweet shop when the ball's coming towards him. Honestly, he's just... It kills me. It kills me. Every time I see that video back, it kills me.
Yeah.
A piece inside of me dies.
Yeah, genuinely. I was waiting for someone to clip it up and put it on Twitter, and then when I saw it again, I was just like, for fuck's sake, it's not good. But like you make a good point, Dan. Even when these players come back, like Rico, Thiago, Hickey, whenever he does come back, whenever that be, if that's next season or whatever, they're not going to be the same player. It's the second time Rico's done his ACL. Different knees, granted, but they're not. It's not just going to be slot back in and be a quick fix. So it just makes that one little lapse over the summer not to think, well, Aya's injury prone, Rico's injury prone, Hickey's injury prone, and you know Roslev may as well be injury prone because he plays like he's got an injury. But that little one lapse over the summer not to think, or naivety, call it what you will, but that not to bring in a fullback over the summer. And we brought in a fullback, but he's not Premier League ready. It's just like we needed something now to fill that gap whenever it comes around, and we're forced to play centre halves at left back, and it just does seem like a bit of a blunder. And you know, the Phil Giles brigade, they were out in full force on Monday night, and
I think we just want to wait for the right opportunity. I don't think we weren't looking for one, but I think we're a club that firmly, unless we believe that they can bring success to the club long term, I don't think we particularly like quick fixes that may or may not work out. I think, like, for example, if we had got Archie Gray in, he would have played right back. He would have probably barely have played centre mid, to be honest, all season. He probably would have played right back all season so far, and he would have probably done a good job. And even though it's not his best position, we all know he's played there a lot for Leeds, and he has played there, I think, for Spurs as well.
Yeah,
we would have done that. I think we are just waiting for that type of player who we see long-term potential in. But someone like Reguilon, I don't know why we couldn't have done this another 6-month loan. until January, until we know Rico's definitely going to be back. I'm sure maybe we could have worked something out on similar terms to what we did last January, especially when it turned out that no one was in for Regulon full time. I'm sure they would have been open for it.
Yeah, I think as well. It's just right now. I think that, like, from the game, what else we could talk about? There's obviously that Leno save at the end, Craig, and you know, to kind of witness that what could have been unfold before your eyes, and then just look at it happen from the other end was just like, because when we obviously, that would have been like the biggest smash and grab I've ever seen, and that away end would have absolutely it would have just descended into carnage. But then to kind of watch something like be so close when to happen at the other, when they score. I've never seen. I absolutely bolted for the exit. I don't know if you guys.
I don't think I've left the football stadium that quick.
I stayed. I clapped him. Someone had to.
You're a fucking idiot then. Look, I've never left a football stadium so quickly. As soon as that ball hit the back of the net, even my old man's he's a stay till the end. He likes to try and stay till the end. Last season, we probably left games earlier than we've ever done. And there was a few games we did that, like the Wolves game where we was awful, and the Everton game where we was awful, and West Ham away where you can see a trend. We were awful. But he tends to try and stay till the end. But I think it broke him. I think it's the first time he's ever thought, I can't do it. We was talking on the way back, trying to obviously stay out of any Fulham fans' ways. Not that obviously they would have done anything or we would have done anything, but we was walking back to the car, to the train station, sorry, and like really saying, I don't know if I could do it this more. I don't know if I could do it anymore this season. I might just give it to next year and try again, because it really, really, really took everything out of us. It really killed us, and it's just awful, isn't it? It's an awful, awful feeling. But it's also not the first time. I mean, when we went to QPR and we was 2-0 up and we somehow didn't win that bloody game.
Yeah, remember
in that. United last year, we were 1-0 up in the 92nd minute and we somehow don't win that game. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. It was just one of those days.
I don't get it. I don't understand how we've gone from. Do you remember that crazy run that we went on in the first season, or maybe the second season? During the season we got Europe, and it was like we went 18 games scoring first and not losing, or something like that. And now we've just completely flipped the script. Like, we are awful at defending leads.
Up until Newcastle in the second season, up until Newcastle at home in the second season, which is when Ivan Toney missed his first penalty for us as well. That was the first game in the Premier League that we'd scored first and then lost. So that was a season and a half. So the first game in the Premier League that we'd scored first and then lost. And that was halfway through, give or take, the second season in the Premier League. I think we've done it 5 times this season, or 4 times this season already. We've definitely done it 4 times away from home, where we've gone ahead first and come away with 0 points. Plus then the West Ham game, where we've gone ahead first and not won. We've dropped 14 points in 10 games?
Yeah. No.
It's crazy.
We're trying to be braver now, aren't we? The way we play, and our strength when we first got promoted was defence, essentially, and we still did okay going forward. But it seems now the more we're trying to open up going forward, the more we're trying to go man for man with teams, the more we're just conceding goals for fun, and we don't change that approach no matter what the score is. Really,
the thing is though, we went man for man against City in the first half, and we were the better team in that game. We could have been 3-0 up, and I remember Nathan Collins coming out in the post and saying, "These are the standards. We have to hit them for the rest of the season," and we have not hit those standards since he said.
It's hard doing that. You got to be perfect doing that. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I mean, look at City. It's the first time they've lost 3 games on the bounce since like 2016. I think I saw. So I mean, every team goes through their blips, but we do it every year without fail. We go through spells like this where every year without fail, and it really takes a lot out of you when you go through these spells. But I was looking at this game thinking, this is the perfect opportunity for us to get our first win away from home, or even our first point away from home this season, and to just capitulate in the manner in which we did is as a football fan. I've seen fans of every club on Twitter and social media say that if that was their team, that would be it. You know, they couldn't hack it. It was awful to fall apart in the manner in which we did. Can we just talk about their first goal as well? That was a fluke. That was a fluke, which completely turned the tides. A complete fluke, which turned the tides in the game because we kept them out. Everything, and that shit little flick is what goes in the back of the net.
My dad's going to watch forever this with that reaction as well.
My dad's
there's a slow mo of that of Flecken watching it go in.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Dad's watching this back now. I know Dad's watching this, and he's in his head's going, I said as soon as Harry Wilson comes on, he's going to score. He always scores against us, and then the bastard scored twice. He called it. He said that would happen.
No, it was all a bit too predictable, to be honest. As soon as that first went in, you just knew it was going to happen. Dan, I want to talk to you about something you said in the WhatsApp chat after the game when you're kind of saying you don't really know how good we actually are. But I do want to pull you up on the fact that you were suggesting Europe when we beat Wolves.
Well, it's become, I think,
hang on, Dan. I'm going to back you up here. Let's not. Where's the pot calling the kettle black here? Because you did the exact same thing.
No. Hands up. I'm hands up.
The reason I said that is because against a lot of these big teams that we played away from home, we have been good for periods. We have shown for periods of each of those games that we can compete and that we can potentially get a result. Obviously, none of those results have ever materialized, which was a frustration. And the issue is that we can't perform for 90 minutes. We can perform for maybe certain sections of a game, but we can't perform for 90 minutes. And it's also materialized since then that perhaps Crystal Palace, that win on the opening day, they're probably a bit worse than we thought they would be this season. Wolves, again, we knew they were down there, but since then they've stayed down there. And I think that has come as a surprise to some people as their fixture list has got easier. So we're playing these teams, and even West Ham, how bad are they at the moment? So all these teams we've played at home we've played the worst 5 teams at home, I would have thought, at the moment. Definitely. I mean, Leicester may be one of them too, but otherwise, where do you place us then? Just above those? Because some of them have been unconvincing.
Well, if we hadn't dropped points against West Ham, let's say we'd won all 5 home games and lost all 5 away games, we'd still be 9th. We'd still be 9th, and we'd probably still be saying we're having a really good season. Now we're only 12th, but like you said, are we going to have another fortunate season this season as we did last season, with other teams just being crap?
I think so. They struggle to get any wins between them. So we've got an 8-point gap on them at the moment. And that is massive in the Premier League because
in 10 games as well, 8
they've
points.
Got one win between them, haven't they? The bottom 3.
2 now, 2 points between them.
Wait, what did you say? Right?
Wait, say it again.
One win between them. I think Southampton have won.
Oh, one win between them. Yeah, sorry, I thought you said 1 point between them. Sorry.
Yeah, so
Leicester have won a couple as well, but it's not like we're not in like. I saw someone say we're in big trouble. We're not in. I don't think, touch wood, everyone touch wood now. I don't think we're going to be in a relegation scrap this season.
We've won 4 games, and how long did it take them to win 4 games?
Exactly. And
I mean, the bottom 4 have only won 2 games combined.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of that, I said it in my preview on Mike Clyde and 5 that in terms of the teams that we played, this is the game that's going to be the one that's going to tell us most about both teams, or at least about Brentford, because like you said, Dan, all the teams that we played at home have been near the bottom of the table. The one team that isn't quite at the bottom is West Ham, and we drew. And then all the teams we played away have been. So it's the first time we come up against opposition that we thought you can base most of what you're going to talk about throughout the season on that game. And to be completely and utterly dominated in the way that we were, granted we didn't concede too many big chances, but I just think it was so fucking disappointing considering it's rivals.
It was easily the most one-sided derby game we've had since both teams have been in the Premier League. Easily the most one-sided derby game that we've had since both teams have been in the Premier League. They wiped the floor with us, and we were so incredibly lucky to be 1-0 up in the 90th minute. I don't know how we kept them out for as long as we did.
No,
but
neither.
the changes killed us. The changes killed us.
Yeah,
I know what we praise Thomas Frank so much on here, and he deserves the praise that he gets, by the way. But he also needs to be held accountable when he makes some mistakes. And he completely killed the game, killed us by changing the defense. But he absolutely killed it by changing the defense. He should never have touched it. When we're keeping them out for as long as we keep them out, don't change it. Don't even think about it. Bulk up the midfield, put extra players in midfield, stop the ball from even getting to the defence in the first place. But don't change the defence when the 4 players are doing well to keep the ball out of the net. Now, we've given Roslev grief. Deservedly so, because he's fucking wank. But defensively, for probably maybe 65, 70 minutes of the game, defensively, he was okay. Defensively. When the ball was at his feet, it was schoolboy football. It was awful. And the hoof is sums up everything about his footballing ability on display on Monday's game. Yeah. But to not single him out as much as necessarily I have here, everybody was pretty poor on Monday when the ball was at their feet. I think for starters, the first half of football, I can't believe I'm saying this, and I'm going to pinch myself afterwards for saying this. That was Damsgaard's worst game this season. I've never seen him give the ball away as much as what he gave the ball away. And it didn't help with the way that they was pressing us, because we was pressing them in waves. We was going, the attack would press, then the midfield would press, then the defence would press. But when we tried to play out from the back, every one of them just went for it. Every Fulham player pressed us up the pitch, all as one, all as a unit, and they went together, which is why we couldn't play in and around them, which is also why they was able to play in and around us so well. Or maybe, I would say so well, maybe we let them do it. Because I don't know if you watch the game back, we press a 3, and then we press a 4. But when they was pressing us, all of their attackers and all of their midfielders stepped up the pitch. They closed that space, which is why the ball would go into Damsgaard back, and then we couldn't do anything about it. And there were so many misplaced passes in and around the edge of our penalty area. And I don't know how they didn't capitalise from any of this. The amount of times that we lost the ball in and around our own penalty area was a joke. But Collins, I thought he was probably my man of the match, because I think that he was the one that bailed kind of everybody out a lot of the time. He was actually defensively really good. And I think Flecken got in the team of the week this week, didn't he, as well? The Premier League team of the week. But he didn't really do anything, Dan. You said it. He didn't really do anything, did he?
He made saves, but you'd expect him to make them.
That's what I mean. All of the saves that he made were straight at him. And I would say if it was like, he shouldn't be making those saves, but he should. Absolutely. Every single one was straight at him. He should be making those saves. But it was the worst footballing performance that we have had in the past 4 years in the Premier League. The worst footballing performance. And I hope that they all got bollocked after that game. I hope that Thomas Frank absolutely laid into every single one of them. And I was saying to my dad on the way back, I don't want no post-match interview. I don't want anything. All I want is an apology. I just want someone to come out and say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we didn't get that, though. We really didn't get that.
No.
Oh, no, that was... I was thinking the exact same thing. I would have loved Jan out or Thomas Frank to come out and actually say sorry to the fans for what we just watched, because it was absolutely dreadful from start to finish.
Start to finish.
Dan, Bournemouth on Saturday. It's not like it's going to get any easier for us. They've taken 7 points from 9 against Arsenal, Aston Villa, and most recently a 2-1 win against Manchester City at the Vitality. I think, I've said it many, the thing very Brentford. It would be very Brentford of us to go and win on Saturday and win comfortably, but it's at home, which is a bonus, because I think if we were actually going to Bournemouth, we'd probably get stuffed to the way that they press and the way that Irola's got them playing this season. They look really, really good. And like you just mentioned, Craig, in terms of pressing patterns and togetherness in the press. If you watch them against Man City, a similar way that we did against Man City, which we haven't done since, but the way that they pressed them man to man, especially in that first half, was really good to watch if you're a Bournemouth fan, but not so great for us going into the game on Saturday, Dan.
Yeah. I think we've been let off in recent weeks because even the Ipswich game was pretty bad for most of it. The Sheffield Wednesday game, how did we not get past them in 90 minutes? And then the Fulham game, even if we had won, even if Carvalho had scored at the end and we had the narrative of Carvalho scoring against his former club, it would have been great.
That would have been sweet. That would have been so sweet.
Even if we had won, it would have been so unconvincing yet again. And I think because we haven't been absolutely hammered, the players have been let off to an extent. Having said that, because we've been so unconvincing, for 3 games in a row, Bournemouth have a good press. They're brave. They're aggressive. They were against Manchester City, so they'll be even more so, if anything, against us. So I think we'll lose just because of that. And we can't keep being unconvincing and staying in games. That won't keep happening. If we continue to play how we have done, and if we played someone better than Ipswich when we played Ipswich, we would have lost that game. They would have gone 3-0 up, we would have lost. And Bournemouth, looking at where they are, looking at how they're playing, they are much better than Ipswich. They will punish us for the things that we've been doing in the last 3 games, and we will lose unless we improve greatly in that game.
What's funny is if we beat them, we go above them, though.
Yeah, and then Europe's back on.
It's the life of a football fan.
We've got to get better.
Summarised in 10 seconds.
Go on, sorry, Dan. No, go on.
It's not out of like our hands. Like we're not far away from those positions. So if we do improve, there's no reason why we can't go on a run in the next few games. But we have to improve because how we've been playing in the last few games won't get us anywhere near Europe. But we know we've got it in us.
We're 3 points off 7th, yeah. so there you go.
To that extent, to be so close to that area of the table still.
Our home form's kept us in it. But I just, Dan, you said we haven't been battered. We haven't been battered on the scoreline, but that was easy. Fulham easily battered us, by the way, on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely.
They outplayed us in every area of the pitch, and I haven't seen a team dominate us like that probably since City beat us 3-1 last year. When realistically they didn't run away with the game. It was only 3-1, but they smashed us. Like, what was it? Fleckenham made the most saves in one half of football.
Yeah.
In like however many years it was. They smashed us. And we played that game like we was playing against Man City or playing against Liverpool or playing against Arsenal. And I don't think any Brentford fan out there can wrap their head around what the hell happened. But if we play the way we played on Monday, Bournemouth will put 3 or 4 past us as well.
Yeah, for sure. With the attacking players that they've got as well, Semenyo, Evan Nilsson, Cliver, Christie. Like, in terms of where we need to hurt them, they're probably a bit weaker defensively than they are going forward. But Jesus Christ, their attacking players have been on fire this season. So, we could be in for a long day, boys. Unfortunately,
the saving grace is we're at home. The saving grace is we are at home. And
I think for sure he has to be absolutely into them at training like this week. He has to say that performance was not acceptable for the fans because none of us have accepted that as a standard to be going into a big game like that. It was like you said, Craig, not close. I wouldn't say it was the worst performance, but not close because we've had some fucking stinkers over the last couple of seasons. But in terms of like the gravitas of the game and what it means to us going into a game like that and playing like the way we did, it was probably the most consequential in that respect.
Yeah. Do you change anything going into this game? Because like I'm thinking, Jensen's played off the bench the last few games, isn't he? Really? Did he start against Sheffield Wednesday? I can't remember.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he started. So he started against Sheffield Wednesday and he come off the bench in the last 2 games. Under no circumstances do we drop Mikael Damsgaard. He might have had a bit of a stinker against Fulham, as did everybody, but there is no way in which we drop Mikael Damsgaard. Does that mean we take Janelt out? Or I so hope he kind of wakes up and sees that we could chuck Janelt at left back, put Janelt at left back, and then have a midfield 3 of the Danes and Norgard, Jensen, Damsgaard.
Norgard was shocking on Monday as well, to be honest. That was his worst game in a while.
Worst game as well.
Yeah.
Worst game as well. It was his worst game, but I know we're talking about scapegoats and things like that, but that is arguably one of the worst footballing performances I've seen dropped by a football player from a right back. And I'm not going to say his name. but we've surely we have to change something. We can't keep sitting back and playing like a two deep line midfielders.
I'd genuinely start Magoma. I know that we'd say he's not Premier League ready, but just like in terms of having that option at left back, when you can open your body out and go down the line for someone like Keane Lewis Potter, I think it's just so valuable. And we don't have that on either side if we're going to play Mads Rösler at right.
What was the game?
Because he doesn't get his head up. He's always going backward.
He ain't got a forward thinking bone in his body. Everything's got to go that way.
Dan, final thoughts ahead of Bournemouth?
I've already said we'll lose. You're now a left back. I'd go you're now a left back. I'd go separate right back, and I would probably play Jensen next to Norgard. And I think Jensen can play those balls from deep. Hopefully, Jensen can help us keep the ball better, because I think we will persist with this playing out from the back. And I think we will persist with this style that we're trying to implement. I just hope we adapt better for when it's not going our way, and we don't just try and do the same thing for 90 minutes and just get completely pegged back again, because there's a danger that could happen. And if Bournemouth score, we need to react in the right way, and again, not be afraid to adapt things. And if Meg Homer's going to be on the bench, at least be open to using him, because I don't know when he'd come on if he weren't going to come on in that Fulham game.
Yeah, I want to see more Carvalho as well. It's not like we signed £20 million player, Fulham Academy product, just to sit him on the bench and play him in cup games. He needs to start playing more, especially.
I don't know who for though.
Earlier, yeah. Well, we were banging the drum for Carvalho to start in centre mid, and we don't need a midfield three of Janelt and Norgard. But having said that, Janelt was probably one of our better players on Monday night, and Norgard was absolute pants. So I just want to see more of him. I just don't think it's a big sign in that to take a Fulham Academy product from Liverpool and then to just not play him, or just like in the games that he has played, he's looked really good. So I don't understand we're giving him 10 minutes at the end of the game when we're clearly struggling to get out of our own half, when it's not going to be a game that he thrives in. But yeah, chaps, that was miserable. I hope we don't have to do that again when we play Fulham again this season. The Eden Road podcast will be back after the Bournemouth game. Review. Drop a comment down below if you enjoyed that. Down on the podcast for one. Spotify channels. Also give us a follow on the socials at Eden Road on Twitter, at Eden Road Pod on Instagram. Actually, no, it hasn't fucking been a pleasure. It's been shit.
I might hate them, but up the bees.